Okay, so once again, have string and int pair populated with some values. Next, I want to have a vector of these guys, a vector of these pairs. Again, this is where it looks a little bit nightmarish, but it's okay. You know, this is the type of object which contains a pair of a string and an integer. And pair, of course, is a standard library class which is parameterized by two types. Not one type, but two types. Type 1 and type 2, right? So Control C, copy this, and this is the type of my vector, okay? So now I would like to create a vector of pairs of, you know, it's called like nested template types or something like that, right? So vect pairs, something like that. All right. So now I want to populate this vector. My choice would be maybe my choice would be, okay, vector of pairs dot pushback, right? It's empty as it is. Pushback, something like you know, hello and 1, 2, 3. But that, of course, is not going to work. So because vector of pairs is a vector of pairs, and you give me a string and some number, so there's no such pushback. Pushback says give me some pair, right? So this would work, right? This would work if I said, all right, I already created a pair, and now I want to push it to the vector to take as an element. That would be okay. So this is okay. This is not okay. So then, how do you push a pair of hello and 1, 2, 3 onto this vector of these pairs? Well, one possibility is to say, all right, so this is the type of an object that I need to push. Control C, right? Then Control V, paste this in, and I'm running out of space already, right? But then use the constructor which will take those two guys. Looks terrible, looks hard, you know, it's like, oh my god, let me read this code, and it's gonna take a while now. So to simplify things somewhat, there is again a helper function which will do it this way. Okay, arguably, you know, a lot of programmers will say that arguably saying make pair, of course I need to say std make pair, right? So a lot of programmers will say that this helper function is a better choice than doing something like this. Yet again, the workaround could be, right, if we wanted to redo this one more time, Control C and Control V one more time. So this is like take 1, and this is like take 2. Take 2. Just say take 2. All right, so let's create this this thing, and this time we'll just say, I don't know, number 2, right? And then number 2, populate it if I want to populate it. A vector of pairs 2 as well, right? So the names don't clash. Number 2, and number 2. All right. So again, type def may be helpful. If this is, we could say something like this: pair type this, but we need to define what pair type is by saying type def this pair type, right? Define it this way. Then typically you want to keep your type defs close to one another. So therefore, instead of doing all this craziness, again, replace this by your type name, which could be vector type, right? And then, of course, you can say type def this whole thing, but this type def already exists, so this can be reduced to something like this, and then say that this thing is a vector type. You know, maybe I'm trying to overcomplicate this too much, but these are very practical things to do. And this again, instead of using these long types with that every time it shows up, you really kind of, you know, really need to focus on it and make sure that you understand what it all means. Type defs can save you time and make things better organized when those complex types are involved, right? So my pair is this, okay? And then my vector is this, and I'm already benefiting from this definition because I'm saying vector of my pairs, right? And then that's how I create my pairs, and then this is how I, you know, this is the vector of pairs, and this is how individual pair is created. And this time, maybe, let's see if this works, right? Since I did this, let me experiment with my coding a little bit. So can I do something like this? Will it compile? Apparently it will compile. So again, make pair works because make pair automatically deduces the type here and the type here. Oh, by the way, I need to, it may not work here at all. Interesting. Wonder why this works. All right, there's something else I was thinking. I was thinking maybe I need to do this. But I don't know why it compiled. I was actually not expecting it to compile. Never mind. Maybe some constructor conversions take care of all the conversions that are needed to go from C string to standard string. But anyway, so I would not be overly concerned about this part, but just to show you how type defs can make things much more readable, and those things can be commented and explained in documentation, so that everyone says, all right, I really don't care what you did here. All I need to know is this is the right type, and I'd like to use this type. All right. So again, in my code, I oftentimes create this little suffix of _t at the end to remind myself that this is a type def. This is not a class that I defined. I figured it out from existing classes, and I renamed this crazy combination by doing this. So anyway, we demonstrated all this because suddenly in this demo we create a vector of pairs of two integers. We populate it by saying push back, make pair, and we populate all of this, right? So 10, 22, 9, 5, 8, 7, and so forth. So sometimes it's very useful to have containers that store not uniform values, but you know, combinations. And pair is one of the combinations that can be used very successfully. So then find, right? So here's the syntax for find. Find says starting from the beginning of vector, right? Ending with an ending of vector, look for pair of two ints 6, 1. And so it finds it, right? So then it says result is pair first, pair second, right? Once yeah, I have result. So result is, oh, let me try this. I'm not sure if I can agree with the syntax. So let's say that I populated my thing with hello and 1, 2, 3, right? So now I say, remember auto, this is good. So we'll say it to the same way, equals vector of pairs 2 dot find, right? Find in the vector of pairs starting from the beginning, ending with the ending, right? And then search for something like this. Okay. So find that, and we already know that find, when it goes down to here, it returns an iterator, right? But I'm declaring it as auto. So then I want to display something, std cout, right? So if I want to print hello and 1, 2, 3 in case if I found it, so what I need to do is, first I need to say iterator 2. You know, I should check if this is really a vector and, then I should not be doing this, but I'm just expecting it to succeed because this should be in my container. So cout, let me actually save this because it may take a while to